So, welcome everyone. I'm here with Andrew Fox. And before we go actually to the questions, to the topic, which is about automation in structured products, and you would mind to introduce yourself and why I'm interviewing you.
Yeah, so I'm Andrew Fox. I've been working in the structured product space for just over 10 years, just over a decade, which makes me feel very old. I always feel like I'm young, but I'm not anymore. You get the 21-year-old interns coming through, and I'm a long way away from them. I worked for Wall Street Docs, where me and Tiago originally worked together for just over 8 years. And I'm currently working in the trade origination team at Marex Solutions, which is a really exciting team to be part of. We're doing a lot of process automation, document automation, and really pushing things forward at the forefront. Being in the kind of size we are as a firm, we have to be agile. We have to be pushing things out quickly. And I'm in a position in my career now where I'm taking on that reins and pushing it forward. Absolutely loving it. Great place to be right now.
Now, let's talk about this because when I started in this industry 15 years ago, I remember putting the documents together in hand, well, not in hand, but typing every single word, being on a call with a regulator, where should the comment be, and which word should we use.
Yeah.
The industry evolved, right? So what's the role of automation in structured products?
Sure. Yeah, great question. I think the main thing we're looking to improve upon is efficiency. Like you say, the time you spend writing down the documents on the phone with regulators, that doesn't particularly happen anymore. On the document side of it, you make that decision very early on in the process. And by the end of the project, you have a document that you are confident with. You can go to market and say, within 15 seconds, we've taken the details on the phone from our buyer and we have a document for you. And if they make a change and they decide, actually, we want, the coupon to be X amount, we can get that document out in seconds. I can't opine on how it was 10, 15 years ago, but obviously now that's a massive breakthrough in the speed people are able to get their documents out and push the trades forward.
Again, this changed a lot, right? It's because back then you had lawyers involved, a lot of manual process. During these 10 years, you work with a lot of different manufacturers, a lot of different documents. Funny enough, before we started, you telling me how you can recognize who did the document, just looking to the end result. So tell me how it is in terms of trying to do some automation on the document side together with legal and together with, let's say, with the manufacturers. It's not an easy process, is it?
No, particularly. I think the hardest part we saw very early on was buy-in and confidence. Obviously, the legal teams, they are happy with the process they have right now. They're happy with, they have control of the documents and the templates. So making sure that they are confident that what we're sending out is correct, that can be tricky. And I feel like the same thing on the regulatory side. There are so many different regulatory changes that have happened in the last 5-10 years that we're constantly keeping up to date and keeping agile to move the needle closer to 100% automation rate, which is kind of what every issuer is looking for. It's not something that I feel anyone has right now. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of experience doing document automation. I've done the grind for it for a long time. It's something that I have a knack for. And
what do you need? I mean, in terms of skills, again, we work together on this with a few manufacturers. What are the skills we need to have to be able to do automation correctly?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I think the main skill you have to have is the vision. You have to see what the end goal is going to look like and see the way you're going to get there. You can't go in blind and build it up from nothing. You need to have an end goal in line. Also, the document's a little bit easier because you want a generated auto-called type sheet, right? Yeah. But then inside that, you have 5-6 different sections that we built up individually. And you've got to think, okay, am I going to leave space to have it as a callable and issue a call? Different logic checks that go in that. And it comes from experience, right? No, it's not something that day one anyone's going to come in and say, okay, I can envisage the entire suite of documents from this one auto-callable term sheet that's been drafted by legal. I feel like the main thing you need to have is vision and patience, because you're going to be chasing up with the legal team, with the tech team, with the trading team from different manufacturers, different issuers. It's something that I've been doing for a long time. I'm putting that together. I feel like my time at Wall Street Docs, while I was very hands-on with the code base and getting it done, you're also managing that project. You're also making sure that every issue you're dealing with is happy with what you're doing and pushing that forward. And that was always a challenge.
So let's talk about it, because you spend a lot of time on the fintech. You're now at the manufacturer of products. What's the real impact of automation?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't apply for a larger organization. For a smaller organization where what we're bringing to market is agility and speed of getting things out and with accuracy, there is not much that is done, I think, on the floor that can't be automated. That's always my opinion. If something comes to me and I have to do it, I'll look at, can I spend a bit more time automating it? And then it's done. No one has to do that again. You're cutting our overheads from doing that. You're making efficiency better. I can then move on to more valuable work for the firm. That's the way that I see it. I'm very lucky to be in a place which is kind of championing me to do that.
Yeah.
I'm given the time, given the resource to be able to do that. And I feel like automation isn't the same as it was 5 years ago. Automation today has evolved massively. People have much more buy-in. You're seeing a lot of the younger generation coming through. They have to have development skills. 10 years ago, people were coming out of university, they're coming with a finance degree, moving into a big firm. They're doing very well. But nowadays, that's not enough. You need to be able to day one results. I feel like automation is the way to do that. You have junior traders coming in, interns in the sales team, know how to automate their work. I can move on to more interesting, more valuable things. Huge thing in the industry. I think we're going to see a lot of juniors that know how to code pushing the forefront of where we're going to be in the next 5, 10 years.
So let's talk about you and your progress. If we talk about people who are studying still at the university, what are type of skills they need to be successful in this automation world?
Yeah, I think the main skill for me is to be able to, like I said before, have the vision and adapt what you're working on. I think being nimble and never saying no is something that we obviously, when we worked together, when somebody came to us and said, "Can you do this?" Yes, not a question. We worked it out. And I don't think we had any failures. I think we actually got it out the door. I think a big thing is being presentable, being able to speak to somebody and understand what they want. You can be told a requirement for a client from a senior person. If you can't translate that in your head to how you're going to get something done, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to be able to go, okay, I understand what you're saying. Here's what I'm going to do. It doesn't have to be straight away. Give it a day, give it 2 to think about it, but make sure that you have a plan based on what they've told you. Don't keep going back to the questions every minute, every hour, every day. You really have to be able to absorb the information, convert it, and then act upon it your own way.
Something that the industry completely changed, right? 15 years ago when I started, you'd request a price and you will wait half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. You're okay with that. That was a market. People open their Excel spreadsheets, calculating. Now it's much faster, right? You have even private banks who have SLAs that you need to provide the pricing, the documents in less than 10 seconds, which make automation much, much more difficult. So what do you think is going to be the future of automation in order to keep delivering the request to deliver everything straight through process?
Yeah, I think a lot of firms are building out entire platforms internally where they can link together different automation programs into one platform. I push forward with this. I think that's something very important, is having that end-to-end automation, like you say. You can get a document in 10 seconds, wonderful. You can get a price in 10 seconds, but if you're not doing them at the same time, it's 20 seconds, not 10 seconds. If you haven't got a platform that can work within itself and has different teams talking to each other, you haven't got a platform. It's not worth pushing forward with that. I feel like we're in a position now, and maybe you know more about this, where confidence in automation is at a height. People are reading the news, they're talking about tech firms and the infrastructure being built in. People are confident with it. There will be pushing forward, and maybe we won't see as much of a benefit from half an hour to 10 seconds, but we will start to see benefits in the volume of products going out. If you can get it in 15 different languages, you can sell in 15 different languages, different regions. That's a big one. I think people are finding their own space to grow automation. Even if it's just a very, very small thing, get that efficiency up, get your processes efficiency up, you're going to see a massive increase in a year's time because that process has been automated. And then another process, you build it up that way. It's not something that will happen overnight, but a good firm that's able to put resources into people that can do it will do very well.
Now, you've looked at what, thousands and thousands of documents?
Hundreds, at least documents. I don't know who's read more kid documents than I have, unfortunately.
So for the advisors who are listening, right, what is important for them to look at the document, let's say final term or pricing supplement? What are the things you look? Because I guess that's what they need to look at.
Yeah, I'm a stickler for formatting. Anyone who's worked with me knows that if something's formatted wrong, I'll find it very quickly and tell them to fix it. Yeah, I think care of duty, right? You have to, if somebody has something very obviously wrong, they haven't noticed it, they haven't cared about it. You really have to care about what's coming out. I feel like most documents nowadays are broken into 3 or 4 specific sections. The way that we've always built it out, or was built out at Wall Street Docs, the logic for one section will affect the logic for other section. So you know that if the summary section on a US pricing supplement is incorrect, the risk factors will also be incorrect because the logic shouldn't be different there. If it is, then you have a break which needs to be resolved. I think for me, I spent a lot of my time working on the US issuance side of things, and that side, the first thing I looked at on any document, any pricing supplement, is the hypothetical returns.
Okay.
From that, I can see, okay, this document is trying to do X, Y, and Z, but it's wrong because this number's not correct. There's no way this would be put to market with this number.
Okay.
Very quickly from that, I can then, if the logic is the same between the summary, the cover page, and the risk factor section, you can work out what's wrong. I think one thing that can be improved kind of everywhere is the data input. If your data input is correct, your data output should be correct. A lot of the times, obviously, this is coming from me, who's somebody who worked on the processing of it. The data input is what was wrong. Not that there's anything wrong with the tech team sending it over, but because automation for the first 80% of products, very easy.
Yeah.
When you start getting to that last 5%, 10%, you start seeing very difficult products go through where logic from one selection changes everything. And I think a lot of firms are now at that place where they are pushing as much automation as possible. It's a deal that gets traded 3 times a year, but they want the document automated, right? For their internal audit, their internal counsel, they want it automated, and that can obviously throw things down the line. So yeah, I think accuracy is always a problem. Always will be, always has been, but you've got to keep grinding it and keep working at it.
Cool. Moving forward, technology, automation. I think we concluded with you that again, it's going to be the future. People will going to be focused in the next 5 years. But what are the main challenges for the next 5 years to take automation to the next level?
Yeah, I think the main thing we have, and it's something that has affected every industry worldwide, is this is the way we do it. People are reluctant for change because they're scared of it. They're not too sure if this is how we should do things. We've been doing this process for 25 years. This is how we do things. Coming in there, being a disruptor and saying, actually, we could save a lot of time and efficiency by doing X, by doing Y, by automating this process. People are worried about it. How can you be fully confident in something that you know has worked for 25 years is now being rewritten and thrown out? Very difficult. I'm sure the document automation, we had a lot of pushback from legal teams, from trading teams, because they, unless they're 100% confident, you're confident in your own legal team. You know that the legal team is looking wrong, it's on you. Going to a third party and being, okay, are we confident in what's coming out without reading it? Do we have to do a full read of everything going out? Do we need a structured deal review? Do we need everything going through? We are definitely in a world where confidence in automation and tech is getting better, but we're not there yet.
So let's talk about AI, right? Everyone's talking about it's the big topic, and of course, AI and automation. It's difficult to make the split, right? Or how can they interact together? So tell me, what's your view on AI for automation?
Yeah, I think AI is, it really depends on how you do it. I think a lot of people, they think that ChatGPT is AI. They see ChatGPT and think AI. For me, ChatGPT is just a tool that can be used by people bringing in automation. It's not so much, oh, I'm going to send this to ChatGPT and it's going to work out the box. For me, it's I'm going to work out what I need to do and fill in the gaps using maybe a couple of requests from ChatGPT that way and do it that way. It's not something I tend to do because I think it's a bit lazy, but that's just the way I am. I think AI, what we're starting to see now, and something that I'm quite interested to see how the world uses it, is creative AI.
Okay.
We're seeing videos and photos and documents and music created by AI. What's to stop? We have algorithmic trading already. What's to stop structured products traders also working with AI to work out the best place for that market? I think that would be a really interesting that people could move into. The tools are available. It's just fine tuning them and getting that confidence and moving forward. I think that's something that could be looked into, probably by somebody bigger than myself, probably by somebody with more experience, but definitely something that should be pushed forward in the future. Creativity AI has a lot of backlash. A lot of creative people are losing roles, losing their jobs because of it. But I feel like if you want to stay cutting edge, you want to stay close to the top, it is the way people have to move it. Going back to document automation, do you think that AI is something that can be used? And if yes, what will be the main things that you think it could help? I think the problem with using AI for document generation, and I think it is something you can do, is you can never be 100% guaranteed accurate with an AI document. There's no way. You're going to have to read it and ensure, and there's no way that they haven't written the same paragraph 3-4 times. There is no way of knowing that with the current technology we have, maybe 5 years' time, it's perfect. I think one of the main things we have in AI is the inconsistency, or especially in the document space, the input data. With different legal teams drafting different documents, there's different language across everything. You can very quickly, with the experience that I think both of us have, I can read a document and say, okay, this is this issue a document from reading the language. You know the language they're going to use. In the same way, I can read another document and be like, okay, this is definitely this issuer because you know the language. If you're training an AI model to try and spit out a document, you're going to have 3 or 4 different ways of describing a document with a product within the same document. That's an issue. The clarity for the end user is not going to be there. The brand focus almost is not going to be there. Of course, the legal departments cannot accept that, right? Oh, sure. No, I think the legal teams I work with are incredible. Some of the work they've been doing is incredible. The speed they can draft things to get it out, but they want it done their way. And I don't think we're ever going to get buy-in from a legal team to be like, we're going to hand over all of the drafting, because it won't be their way if there's any problems with it. Who's to blame? Is it the AI model? Can you go to OpenAI and try and go with them? Probably not. No, it's a lot of risk to take on. I think today, I personally wouldn't be too comfortable with AI documents, but I think in even 2 years, a year, 2 years, I may change my tune massively. Just fear, just like I was saying before, it's not the way things are done. You fear that change. There's a lot of risk that goes into it. Maybe it'll work out fine. Maybe it won't. I hope it does, because it'll be a really interesting thing to move forward with.
So let's talk about you and your personal journey. Can you tell us more about your personal journey in structured products from day one to today?
So I, fresh out of university, moved at all three docs and joined in very quickly. I think I was at the firm for just over a year. I moved to New York, moved to the US, and was running a couple of different clients, different contracts. Very much learning on my own. There wasn't really too many seniors above me to train down, so I had to sink or swim. I had to learn it. Didn't like letting down my clients. They were my clients, I'd go for drinks with them. I'd hang out with them. They were good people. I didn't want to let them down at all. So I worked to make sure I was there. And I feel like I got a good grasp on client relationships and the actual work behind it, what needs to be done. Came back to London and started running the document automation team. Still very hands-on. I'm very much a player manager, but running a team, hiring a team beneath me, training them up and doing that. I think a lot of the people still at Wall Street Docs come from my tree. People I've hired them and hired them all the way down.
What are the qualities that you were looking for when you were hiring people for a document?
One thing for me is, whenever I interview people, the answers they gave me, you get very standard answers in an interview. The main thing for me, and I remember one in particular, just somebody being like, I don't know that right now, but I'm going to find out. Having that drive to, actually, it's a very good question. I don't know it. Let me see if I can think about it. I'll give you my best example, but I'm not going to tell you it's right. And it was wonderful. It was a really refreshing interview. I think you're looking for somebody who is hungry, obviously presentable to the legal teams, the tech teams. You have to be able to talk to pretty much everyone in the industry working in automation, and also just has that drive. You can really tell it with people. Somebody that's going to come in and actually push forward a firm, an industry, rather than somebody that's going to do their job and go home at 5:30.
What are the things that you find it difficult to accept when it comes to automation of structured products?
I feel like there are times where there is, from a very, very granular standpoint, it's going to be something that I picked up in a long time. There are times where the format of a document doesn't make sense. Where there are things that are put on pages by the legal team, by the marketing team, or an issuer side. I very much like, this doesn't make sense to do it this way. This is not how a document should look. And I've had arguments before with people that have probably forgotten about me by now, about the format of their documents, because all I wanted to do was put a good document out in front of them. And it's something that I'm very, very passionate about, is a correct formatted document and make sure it's correct. Sounds really bad looking back at my life. Like, passionate about formatted document.
I'm not going to ask what other manufacturers have the worst document.
I could say that. I'm not going to say that.
But what are the things that they actually do wrong?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think what are things that people do?
And when it comes out with the document, I mean, I'm just trying to help financial advisors to to understand where they can complain.
Not to me anymore. To other people. I think one of the main things that things can go wrong, you're looking at the title of the document, essentially the title of the document being incorrect. If the wrong product's on there, the wrong underlines on there, the wrong X is on there, you can tell very quickly it's the wrong document. But if you're talking to an advisor that doesn't know that already, they're probably not the right advisor for you. I think the main thing, looking at a KID document, it's probably the easiest one to describe, because of the number of KID documents that are out there. It is something that you see in Europe. The first thing I scroll down to straight away is the risk section. From a risk section, you can see if a document is correct. If you have a cap at this amount and you're going to get more than that after 5 years, it's not correct. 100% it's not correct. We do get a lot of arguments where the calculations after the first year for a 5-year product, even if it's capped, could be very different to what you're expecting to see. You're not going to get a fixed income 20% after 5 years. You're not going to get 20% after the first year. People are adamant that it should be at 1,200 of that. It's not. I'm sorry. It's not the way it works. And the calculations behind it are a bit deeper. I think I copied and pasted that explanation from the quant team hundreds of times to different people being like, this is the reason why I'm sorry. It's not what you're expecting, but this is how it's done. I think that's something definitely to look at. I mean, obviously on a kid document, the summary section, the target market section can be different. A lot of things that move around.
Like, Andrew, you've been in the industry for 10 years. You have a very different experience because you've been focused on automation throughout your career. So my question to you is, and I'm going to ask each to everyone who comes to this podcast, is what you really like about structured products, and then also what you don't like.
I like the people. What I like about it is that it is while it is a large industry, it's quite a small industry. You go to conferences, you meet people, everyone knows each other. It's quite tight knit. Everyone, there is some competitiveness, but there's no animosity there at all. People are friendly with each other. They're courteous. They're constantly sharing ideas. I've met some incredible people working in the industry, and hopefully meet a few more moving forward. I think it is an industry driven by its people, and it always has been. If you look at the building blocks of structured products, it's not that technical. But what it's grown into now, the different variations you can have on a product, it's crazy, right? That creativity, it's not the normal type of creativity, but I respect it massively. When you see the deal of the year, you see these incredible products coming out, and it's like, wow, someone thought about that. Someone's had that kind of drive. 2 in the morning, woke up and thought, okay, we're going to do this. I think that's wonderful. Not to try and flow Marex a little bit too much, but Marex are pushing some great products out. Really interesting, exciting ones. The training team there are incredible. The COO team, some of the stuff that they come up with recently are, top of the line. I'm really excited to be working with that.
You didn't mention, you didn't answer.
I don't like. I think it's something. What I don't like is it's difficult. I don't know. I don't know this much. I think it can be tricky to. I think we're in a position now, unfortunately, with the youth of the market the way it is. I think it's going to be tricky, not just for me, but for people growing up, moving into the industry, to make a name for themselves. I think it's almost a solved industry. I think it may be difficult in the next 10, 15 years for a new joiner into the industry to push that way forward, unless they are, incredible. What can they bring to the industry? I'm sure they've already said this 5, 10 years ago as well. What can they actually bring to push forward, 2% now? I'm not looking at the 20%. I think that's something that I struggle with. I'm somebody that has been hiring and training people for a long time. I love the teams I work with and work beneath me, and I kind of do see a bit of a cap to how far a lot of people can go, myself included. I do see a cap to my career in the structured products industry, not because I'm not passionate, obviously, not because I'm not talented, but because I just don't feel there are enough roles to go around, and there never will be. There are people more passionate, more talented than me.
With the level of automation, right? We don't need as many people as we used to have.
And as I was saying earlier, with the juniors coming in and the skills they have in automation, we're only going to see that explode. I think the world of coming in with an MBA and relying on that is gone, unfortunately. You're seeing less and less people with a CFA even in our industry, right?
Right.
Because while it is useful to have, time on the floor and ability to be efficient seems to be more desirable to firms now. Just from what I've seen. Obviously, someone has a CFA, I'm very respectful of them. It's an incredible thing. I wouldn't touch it with I couldn't get an idea about having it. I have a very different way of looking, but it's different. The industry is obviously moving to be smaller. The big players will get smaller as well. The small players will have to stay small, I feel.
You have a question for me? Say something you would like me to answer.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously asked me how I feel the industry is going to be in 5, 10 years. In a perfect world, everything goes right, everything moves forward. What do you think the industry will look like in 5 years compared to today?
I think I agree that automation levels are going to increase. I think this will be much more like equities and bond markets are, where you go online, sort of ask for a price and you get it straight away, and that's very, very exciting. I mean, me and someone else, we always have the dream there. Anyone could just open an app. A farmer in Africa, open an app and be able to use structured products to hedge their production. And I think that's where the industry is going. But ultimately, this is a product that is still sold. It's very focused on financial advisors and wealth investors. I think the next step is going back to the retail distribution, mass distribution. This is where the structured product started 40 years ago. Mass distribution, structured products sold in the post offices across Europe. The product developed to be focused on wealth clients. And I think ultimately, if it's perfect, I think this product will be much more accessible to other people. What do we need is education, why we're doing this podcast and doing these trainings, is being able to understand the product and how it fits in a portfolio and people's objectives in life. And I think this is where products are completely different than just investing on equities or fixed income. They actually build with a purpose, with a target and a goal. So they are the perfect product for people to put in their own portfolio to ultimately get to their goals in life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that structured products have, as long as there are no big issues. And again, we're always limited to some people. It's not only in this industry, in every industry, there are always people trying to do the wrong thing or trying to make money out of it. And because the product is slightly more complex, there are people who abuse it. But if that doesn't happen and the industry stays focused on leaving automation and education, this industry will probably triple.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think you're seeing a lot of the apps nowadays, the trading apps that retail are using. The barrier to entry for that is nothing. It's minimal. There's still a very high barrier to entry for the structured products world. Hopefully we see that tumble down and fall down and make it more accessible to the retail space. Who knows? Could be something interesting to work on 20 years time or a bit more grey. We'll see what happens with that, right? But yeah, definitely something that is really interesting as well. I mean, we've worked together for a short while. We're on a few really interesting projects. Is there any kind of part of your career, part of the work you've done that you feel has made you who you are today, that's really pushed you and got you to where you are now? Anything that you're proud of and say, yes, this is the turning point in my career?
I think what made me completely change was an event that happened 8 years ago. Now, before meeting you, is I was doing research. I was traveling the world, and I remember getting a call from one of a big international bank from their global head saying, "I have the Wall Street Journal, and they want some data. They want to tell how good structured products are." And I asked him, "Are you sure?" I never seen a journalist writing a good piece. Yeah, that doesn't sell newspapers. Provided the data, it was a damaged article can come out on the Wall Street Journal saying how structured deposits were stealing investors and especially people above 65 years old, and they did not use all the data that I've given them, and that was quite damaged for the industry. It was a big talks about it, and I felt that they had to step in. So we did the research. I showed every single data point, and I make it that public to the whole industry. And I think the feedback that I got, it's what made me push to found SPI, to do all this research because the industry needed it, and I felt that I was in position to help. Yeah, and I think that changed my career because back then I was going to, let's say, working at the bank, creating these products, selling these products, and that changed my career.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes taking a step back, taking that look and understanding what you want makes a massive difference, right? And understanding where you want to be and how you can make a change in the world that actually pushes.
It's interesting. You asked me that now, and I never thought about it until now.
Sure.
But I can clearly see that.
I'm very good at my job, don't worry. Something I say on the floor every day. I'm pretty sure people are tired of saying I'm good at my job. Yeah, I think everyone kind of has that story, right? That you take a step back and you look at yourself and you realize this is the time you realize that you either aren't where you want to be right now, or you see that pathway to where you want to be. It's something that I'm looking forward to asking some of the guests we have coming up. People that are massive in the industry, huge players or have been huge players in the past, and understanding how they got there, what makes them tick, and what was their eureka moment, what was their moment. I've always, from very early in my career, speaking to people that are new joiners into the industry, one day you'll get it. One day it will just make sense. The entire, how things are structured, how they work out will just make sense. And I always loved, every so often, I would notice somebody making that, understanding it, and it's just the weight off their shoulders. It's just incredible. And I feel like a lot of people have that in the career as well. You realize what you want your career to be, where you can put it, what your position should be, right? It's something that I really love seeing in people when they're passionate about what they do, they can push it forward and they're good at what they do. There's nothing better, I think. So hopefully we have similar answers from our guests coming through. Should be good.
So Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for listening to us. Hope you enjoyed. We'll have more podcasts, different guests coming, and both me and Andrew will be very happy to pass some of that knowledge. Any feedback, feel free to send us, email us. We will be glad to listen. Thank you.
It's rest on my desk, but I'll try and reply when I can. That's how it usually goes. Yep, thank you so much for having us. Obviously, I'm looking forward to hosting this moving forward. We've got some really exciting things going on in the pipeline. So yeah, should be fun. Should be good.
Yeah.
Thank you for the time for talking to me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've spoken about myself this long in years. I've been dating for a while, so don't talk about myself that much anymore. It's nice.